All right, so if you watched the last video, I talked about a few things that we need to get fixed on the car. So today the plan is to get the exhaust leak fixed. So looks like I'll probably have to take the grill and turbo, a lot of the exhaust off. So I'll show you where the leaks are, and then we'll come up with a plan on how we're gonna fix it. I think I'm probably just gonna leave right now I've got the little T4 gasket on, and I'm pretty sure I'm just gonna leave that off and do some red RTV and see how that seals up. And yeah, if that holds, that's great, and if not, we'll come up with plan B later. All right, so if you look at my exhaust flange, sorry, I got a flashlight so we can see. You can see that one looks good, but over here I noticed, hold on, but over here I noticed, see the exhaust mark right there? So that one's definitely leaking, so I've got to figure that out. And then the big one is, if you look at my turbo, you see all the black soot on the turbo right there? So that means my flange is leaking. So we're gonna snatch this thing out, and it's kind of hard to see because it's dark, but it's definitely leaking. So that could definitely be hindering the spool on the turbo. All right, so got the grill and everything out, got the wastegate off, got the exhaust off. So getting ready to pull this turbo. All right, so we got the turbo down, and we're just gonna let her sit right there for now. And you can see right here, so this is my gasket. You can see how it was leaking pretty much. So hopefully that's my spooling issue. So these are the two back bolts, so you can see the back of the gasket looks good, but the front two is definitely leaking. So I don't know, I'm hoping just I can red RTV it, but I'm going to clean up the flanges and make sure there's nothing, no burrs or anything. And then I think I'm trying to decide if I'm going to do RTV only or RTV and the gasket. But I'm going to check out my flanges and make sure I don't have any burrs or anything that's keeping the front from sealing. And hopefully, you know, I listed a list of things that were wrong with the car, but Boost fixes everything, right? So if this fixes that, we might not worry about all the other stuff. Except braking transmissions. But anyway, we're gonna get back at it. All right, so under further review, I really don't think it's the gasket's fault. You can't really see it, but if you feel in here, I've got part of that exhaust pipe hangs down below the flange, which on my old turbo, it wasn't a big deal because it was open. So the parts would go in there, but my new turbo is divided, so there's no place for those things to go. So this thing had no shot at sealing. So yeah, that's probably why my turbo is so lazy. So this will be awesome. I'll go figure out, I might have to take the exhaust all the way off, which would be kind of a bummer, because that means I probably got to take a lot more stuff off. But I might try to grind it with it on there. Well, I got to take this side off anyway because it's leaking a little bit. So I'll take this off and see if my flex joint gives me enough wiggle room to be able to lift that up a little bit and get a good grind on there and grind those things flat. Then we'll throw the gasket on. We'll probably put a little red RTV on it just to be safe, but I really don't think it was a gasket issue. It was my flange issue. So if I do take it off, I'll get a picture of it and show you. If not, just trust me, it's hanging down a little bit, probably like a 1/16 of an inch, which wasn't a problem on that turbo. Since it was open, they would just nestle in there, but on this one, it's an issue. And it's kind of the same deal on my exhaust. You can see how it was leaking on half of it. So that's no bueno. This side looks good, so I'll just red RTV this guy too, because I don't see any reason why that was leaking, other than it's just an old gasket I've reused. But so we'll RTV that guy when we get ready. I'm gonna go get the grinder. Taking that loose, which I had to do anyway, gave me enough wiggle room to get the grinder in there. So now we're nice and smooth. So you still can't see, but it's nice and smooth. No more protruding exhaust pipe. So that was kind of an oversight on my part, but I'm glad we figured it out. Hopefully this is the thing. So I'm gonna get these two gaskets cleaned up and get some red RTV on them, and then we'll bolt all this back together, and then later we'll go for a test drive, see how the Boost behaves. All right, so got turbo and exhaust back on. We're RTV is kind of sloppy, and it's messy even by my standards. But anyway, as long as it doesn't leak, I guess it's worth it, and eventually it'll get discolored probably. But yeah, so now we just got to get turbo flange, all that stuff hooked back up, and get the exhaust back on, and all that happy mess in the wastegate. And then we'll probably let this thing sit till this evening and probably try to go for a test drive. I got the exhaust back on, got the wastegate back on, so we're ready. We're just gonna let all this stuff cure. I'll get the grill and stuff back on. We'll go for a test drive later. One other thing I gotta fix is the street exhaust, because it's just junk. It hangs way too low. So what I think I'm gonna do is probably get a little shorty muffler that can go like in this pipe, and then maybe redo down below, see if I can get the exhaust where it'll stay higher, because it's just way too low. It hits speed bumps, and like if a snail was in front of me on the road, it would die. But it's definitely got to get better. It's you know, it worked for the cruise, but I want it to look better too, because if you get at the wrong angle of the car, it can be pretty hideous looking under there. That didn't help the spooling any, so I fixed the exhaust leaks. Turbo still doesn't want to spool. I really think it's just too big of an exhaust housing, because that's the 125, and I just don't think I have enough oomph with my sloppy stage 2 cam 5.3. I just don't think it's going to spool it with a standard. If I was automatic, it'd probably be okay. But so I don't know what I'm going to do about that. I think I'll order the 0.96 housing, but stay tuned. I'll make another video for that.